Hi guys, welcome back. I haven't sat down and done a video in quite a long time, and I guess we will be talking about pretty much the reason for that. And I'm sure you'll be able to guess from the title of this video, and also if you follow me on Instagram, I did announce this slightly earlier than I've put out a video on YouTube. So yes, I am pregnant, which feels really weird and quite emotional talking about out loud. Yeah, bear with me. It's like such a roller coaster still in my brain, and I'm just like still taking everything in. I obviously was like super keen to like share this news with you, and I think especially also after sharing the news on Instagram, I've had so many lovely messages and comments saying that you have followed me on YouTube for years, and I really felt like it was important for me to like talk about this and like share the news with you on here as well. So I thought I would use this time to talk a little bit about our journey this far, and also just to give you like a rundown of first trimester and my second trimester so far, and kind of put it all together. And yeah, if anybody's obviously interested in hearing more, then let me know, and yeah, I'll think about how to do that. But it'll be nice just to be back to vlogging again as well. I'm also really out of breath already, which is also quite common. I have written some notes to talk about the two sort of trimesters so far, but yeah, last year was actually really tough for us, and I will be talking a bit about baby loss and miscarriage. So I'm obviously really aware that that is such a sensitive subject, and for those of you that have been through it or are going through it and or are particularly anxious about it, I will put some timestamps below, so if you do want to skip past me talking about that, then obviously please do. I don't want to talk about it in like masses of depth, but I feel like it's important to like touch on it. And like I was umming and ahhing talking about it, but I think because it is so common, it is important where people feel comfortable to talk about it, because it just makes you feel a lot less alone. I guess starting with that, it is so common. It is common, however, that doesn't make it any smaller for you and how you feel about it. Fortunately, last year we did have 2 miscarriages, one of which I had to go into hospital for and have surgery for. And yeah, to say last year was like a roller coaster is like a massive understatement. It was an exciting time, but also really awful time, and I ummed and ahed, as I said, like whether to talk about it. And I also feel like in the moment as well, you're unsure who to talk to about it, whether to tell like friends and family straight away, or yeah. And I think massively out of it, feel like I have learned that you just have to do what is right for you. Don't worry about what anybody else is going to think of you. If you take longer to tell someone, if you don't tell someone, that is up to you, that is your decision. And I think it's just really important to just like keep that in mind if you're going through something, that you have to just deal with it in the way that you would deal with it, and tell the people that you feel comfortable in telling. Obviously Dan has been absolutely amazing, and I'm very lucky to have a partner that I can be so open with and have these conversations with. But obviously there were at times where I needed to speak to other people about it, but equally we also felt really, I guess, protective over it, and it being our private life and just wanting to keep it with us two for quite a while. So yeah, I guess just to say, if anybody has gone through it or is going through it, I really feel for you, and obviously sending lots and lots of love. And I know that these announcements can feel really difficult as well in those times, but I guess hopefully just to show that, you know, I am there. And yeah, a massive thing that I've also learned from the whole thing, and I'm not saying that you have to be strong, because I definitely was not strong at times, is that it's made me learn that I'm way more resilient than I thought I was. I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was, and also every time something kind of happened or went wrong, it was just another challenge to overcome, but also one where I felt a lot more confident, having had that experience, to know that I might be okay if something else was to go wrong, if that makes sense. So yeah, not a great year for us last year, hence why my like vlogging was quite up and down. But I just, yeah, as I said, sending lots of love out to those who are dealing with it in the moment. And yeah, there were things that helped me at the time, and talking to Tommy's was like a really massive thing for me. So if you are going through it and you need to speak to someone, obviously please flag it to your GP or Tommy's charity. They were great. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking about that now, because I want to kind of like touch on this pregnancy and the excitement of that now. So yeah. So yeah, I am actually 22 weeks when this video goes up. I am over halfway now, potentially, depending on when baby comes. And yeah, it's been a bit of a rocky road, probably likely due to what we've been through before. It was a particularly anxious first trimester for me. So we do know the sex of the baby, but I just want to keep that a little bit longer just for us and our friends and family, etc. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to be really careful about how I talk, and I will probably refer to the baby as the baby or they, where I can remember to do that. I will also say in this section I'm going to talk a little bit about nausea and sickness, so again I'll add like a trigger warning below in the description if you would be triggered by that. So as I say, I think particularly like the things that stood out for me in first trimester were I found it a very anxious time. It is quite a lonely time as well. Like everybody says this and I do agree with it, like you do just feel quite alone because you feel like you can't, or you don't necessarily want to tell people just yet, but equally you want to talk. It's really hard in your brain. But I did tell some friends quite early on just because it just made me feel better to be talking about it. But I think no pressure, again, you have to do what is right for you. So yeah, I generally was okay like the first sort of few weeks. I think when it hit to kind of like around like 5, 6, I was just like so tired. Just like the most cliche things around a first trimester basically was me. I was so tired. I would have like lunchtime naps. I'd probably likely also have a nap after work, and then I was going to bed quite early for me, which is around 9. So yeah, very tired. From around week 6, I got vertigo, which I have had before because I've had like an ear infection, and vertigo is just so different to feeling a bit dizzy or feeling a bit sick. It is literally like your head is spinning, and that first time it was so bad that yeah, it was about a day I think it only dealt with that, but the GP got me in quite quickly just to check blood pressure and stuff, and it was fine. So it's kind of just been put down to hormones. I did get that again 16, and that was worse, unfortunately. That was like I couldn't get out of bed for a couple of days. Dan had to like assist me to like have a shower and stuff like that. It was just quite awful, and I did have quite a blip then, but again, like GP midwife put it down to hormones. So thankfully, touch wood, I haven't had that since, but I have heard more and more people say that it is quite common, so I'm not sure, but it's not something I was expecting. Anyway, back to kind of first trimester. So I feel like generally around from week 7 I just felt icky, and the best thing that I have heard like this described as is just you feel hungover, and that is very much it. Like you feel tired, like a bit icky, just like not quite yourself, just like a bit gross, and that is sort of how I felt. The aversions really kicked in quite soon for me. I didn't really have many cravings, to be honest. The only thing really was like textures of stuff. Like if I had a cold drink, it had to be so cold, like ice cold. And yeah, but other than that, really like nothing in terms of cravings, which I feel a bit disappointed about. Mine has been more aversions, so was really struggling to drink like tea, coffee. Still haven't had a coffee in like 4 months, which is sad. Like Dan's love language is making me a coffee, so that's been really sad. And like just like milk, so I would have like dry Cheerios every day, and then at one point I kind of got put off by them as well, to be honest. So that was quite interesting because I'm a massive foodie, so that was a shame. Week 7 we actually had an early private scan just because I needed a bit more reassurance having gone through what we had before, and thankfully everything was fine. So mentally that kind of made me feel a bit better, although not 100%, like yeah, I would say. So yeah, week 8 unfortunately I was sick for the first time, but actually it was then probably like another week until it like fully kicked in for me. So week 9 was not a great week. One day I was again bedbound, couldn't like keep anything down, like any water or anything. So after quite a few hours of that, I did speak to my doctor. She put me on some medication quite quickly, so I got put on 2 lots, can't remember what they were right this second, and they basically carried me through for the next few weeks. So they kicked in fairly quickly for me, thank goodness, because I know that others obviously suffer so bad, and even sickness tablets don't touch the sides, but they did kick in fairly quickly for me. So I weaned myself off those about week 11, and then by week 12 I'd cut fully down, although there was a couple of days like here and there where I felt a bit more nauseous again, so I did take a couple of tablets. But yeah, generally week 8, 9, 10 was that sort of period for me. I'd say by like week 9 to 10 I'd started to like, my clothes had got a bit tighter, I had struggled to put jeans on and stuff, so yeah, that for me probably happened quite quickly. And then into like second trimester, I had my scan at hospital actually at week 13. It was like slightly later than it should have been, and also I got put forward quite a few days, like from my original due date. And yeah, obviously the relief from that scan was great, but again, I think having gone through loss before, that anxiety probably never really goes away. But equally, I think even if you hadn't experienced loss, many people also get that. But I would say sort of from then on I started to feel a little bit more positive about things. Week 14, 15, belly started getting bigger. I was starting to feel a bit faint, like just quite dizzy and stuff. I did actually faint one week, like I can't remember what week it was now. It was probably around that time actually, probably around 14, 15 weeks. We were staying with friends and I did faint, but luckily both of them are doctors, so that I was in the right hands. I noticed around this time, and my voice does sound a bit croaky now, but that's because I've been ill, but I had got that like symptom where your voice sounds slightly strange, and I had heard people talking about this before. I don't think it's that common, but my voice just felt different to me and a bit deeper. And again, I think that's related to hormones. That has been a bit hit and miss, not really quite like it anymore. But Dan said he can only really notice it quite subtly, but like to me, I feel like I can notice it. And it's almost like I'm straining to like talk loudly for me. Week 17, I had a bit of an emotional blip. I wrote down, like I think I just, in between scans, it's just like really tough. And like because you haven't felt them yet, you're like, is this really happening? So there's a lot of like mental like challenges and steps that I've had to like get through, but thankfully like that kind of passed. And again, I'm sure it was hormones that had a big part to play in me feeling like that as well. Week 18 we actually went on holiday, and that was when I really started to feel like my bump was looking a bit more bumpy, and especially after like having dinners in the evening, like pizzas and stuff. But again, like obviously everybody is so different, and like some people don't show for a long time, so yeah, I don't want this to feel like you're measuring up against me or anything. Week 19, I didn't really notice much stuff. Actually, I kind of forgot something really big on week 18 near the end of it. I felt the baby for the first time. Like everybody says, it's such like a weird feeling. You don't know if you're actually feeling them or not, but it was just such like a bubbly, like popping kind of sensation. And we were actually on a coach in Croatia, and I think it was the motion of the coach that actually made them like, yeah, peak up. So that was really lovely, but it was one of those things I was like saying to Dan, I was like, I'm not sure if this is them or not, like I'm not sure, but it definitely is, having now had it for like the last few weeks. And I would say there's definitely like periods of time where I notice the movement a little bit more. It might be around like lunchtime, and particularly like in the evenings, like when we're sitting down like after dinner and I have like eaten and yeah, like sitting down watching on the sofa. So yeah, that's been like quite nice. But I think the only reason I feel them quite strongly is because they're really far down in my pelvis, and that was a point that I wanted to make at week 20. We went for the scan and they were so curled up in my pelvis, so like squished in, they couldn't see everything they needed to, which was a bit of a shame because again, the anxiety creeps in and you just want that relief every time you have a scan. So they managed to sign the majority of it off. We had to go back the week after for a rescan, and thankfully everything is looking okay. So I think that's why I feel them quite a lot, because they're so far down, it's quite tight in there, and they're not really moving around like throughout my whole stomach sort of area. Then week 21, so that I suppose is like, was that last week or this week? Honestly, I'm getting so confused. Anyway, Dan actually felt the baby for the first time, which I did not expect to be possible. But one evening they were really like going for it, and he managed to feel some movement. So that was really exciting, and those sorts of things obviously start to make it feel a bit more real. But again, everyone experiences these things at different times. Just generally in the second trimester, I noticed that I was like waking up quite early, which is like quite unusual for me. I'm normally like a lay in bed kind of gal. I was probably being woken up like around 5 AM every morning. Not always because I needed the toilet, just I think like my body just waking me up. So that's been a bit weird for me. Like the other day woke me up at 4 and I actually couldn't get back to sleep. So yeah, obviously everyone is like, get used to it. I'm sure it's just my body preparing me / all the hormones everywhere, everything. So yeah, that's kind of where we are up to. Shall I show you the bump? I will. Okay, so this is bump. We're about to hit 22 weeks, so yeah, they are definitely there now, and it's definitely quite hard for me to hide it. This is sort of like midday, having not had any food. Well, I've had breakfast, but not having had like lunch or dinner yet. So I would say that this gets quite a bit bigger during the evening. So yeah, I don't feel like there's sort of like much else to say. I am obviously, or we are like really excited, and also obviously incredibly nervous and terrified, but I think that's obviously very natural to feel that way. And we did actually buy the first little baby bit last week, so that was really nice. And my sister's lent me some stuff, so that's been really nice to look through as well. And yeah, it just feels like incredibly emotional and like big to kind of announce it and talk about it a bit more. Like, I kind of feel like I never sort of thought I'd get to this point. And yeah, obviously I know this sort of content as well is not necessarily going to be for everybody. Obviously it's part of my journey. On YouTube you've seen like quite a lot of my journey, moving house, buying a house, being quite younger, getting married, and obviously now expecting. So yeah, it feels like quite a big milestone. Yeah, it's exciting times. But thank you so much for watching this, and as I said, just sending lots of love out there to any of you who may be struggling. And thank you all for your lovely messages and comments so far, and I will see you soon. Bye!